All right, and welcome back to Talking Shop in the Shop. We're here at Cool Beans in West Islip. I'm your host, Frank Cucciardo from orderplans.com, and I'm grateful to have a colleague of mine here, Chris Stallworth from Contractor Specialists, and you guys are based out of Lindenhurst, right?
Lindenhurst, yes.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
So today we're looking to talk about, here's the builder, right? Large-scale projects. We're a full-service design architecture firm. And 20 years. So this is the titans, right? In the space, right? So
you're too kind.
The builder and the architect, maybe not us as titans, but the roles, right, of getting a project through falls squarely on the shoulders of the teamwork that happens between the architect, which is the general contractor of the professional services, right? We're going to bring in the surveyors, and we're going to bring in the engineers and the septic engineers and the structural and the civil, and we're going to coordinate and manage all that, and then it will eventually come over to you as the general contractor, right?
Yes.
You're responsible for
the construction part,
right?
Getting the vision completed,
right. Which with all of your particular subcontractors, and
yes.
You manage the bricks and the sticks. And we manage client expectations, the needs, wants, wishes, the dream lists, trying to help them, the homeowners, through budgeting and things of that nature. And there has to be a cohesive relationship between the architect and the builder to move this thing from concept to keys in the hand, right?
Exactly.
Right. So I was hoping, Chris, today that to the homeowners that might be watching, or to, maybe other folks in the real estate transaction, we're all kind of touching real estate, right? In some form, shape, or another, right? So for the homeowners, maybe this episode is going to be most insightful, because we're going to try to work through sort of the stick, the rub, the problems that they're going to run into.
Exactly.
Right out of the gates, and maybe take it through a lot of process, a lot of concept here today. So, Chris, why don't you just for the sake of our audience, why don't you just tell us just a little bit about sort of your firm, where you come from, your background. Just talk a little bit about that.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you, Frank, for allowing me to come on and share this time with you and your audience. I'm so grateful, because I believe network is so important. And I was introduced to Frank. It was kind of like a weird introduction. Right. I knew of Frank through another colleague, a broker friend of ours.
Right.
And I was actually looking into doing a project, not realizing that Frank was actually the architect. I had gotten the information, and I was doing a preliminary pricing on a project. And then I was invited to a mixer.
Right.
And I'm there at the mixer, and it was so funny. I'm walking through the crowd, introducing myself, and all of a sudden I'm talking to Frank face to face. I've only emailed you at that point.
Correct.
We've never talked on the phone.
Correct.
Just via email. And then we started talking about what we do and projects. And then it dawned on me, I said, wait a minute, you're working on the Huntington project.
Right.
And he said, yeah, you're Frank? He said, you're Chris?
Right.
It was a hilarious moment.
That's right.
It was great camaraderie at the time, and we pretty much meshed at that point in time.
And it was interesting because, right, it wasn't until the end of the evening when we were leaving, and I had my wife with me, I had my better half with me, and I remember saying, I said, I don't know what this guy does, but I said, this guy's all right. I said, I like this guy. He's not like your typical guy, right?
Right.
And then it was after, then we were like, oh, wait a minute, you're the guy? Oh, you're the guy?
You're the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was an interesting meeting, but just to give you a little background, we are a construction firm. We do new builds, remodels, kitchens and bathrooms, the typical kitchens and bathrooms. Yeah. I'm actually third generation. And my son, who is my partner, is fourth generation. So we just didn't start doing this. We've been in the business for years. And
so you learned from your dad?
I learned from my mom.
Oh, from your mom?
Because my grandfather was a builder.
Really?
And my mother was a realtor. She had her own realty firm. One of the first minority realty firms in Suffolk County.
Really? What year was this?
We're talking about in the 80s.
60s, 70s?
No, in the 80s.
80s.
And then I kind of like took up the mantle.
I'm sorry. You said your mother, not your grandfather.
Yeah,
your
mother.
Yeah.
So
sorry, Mom.
That's
Yeah.
okay. So, and I took up the mantle. I got involved with kitchens, evolved into remodeling, and then I became a builder. And at one point, my 2 sons and my nephew, my 3 sons and my nephew, all worked for me. And they were in the business. Everybody left except for my son, who now is my partner, and he also is a mortgage broker.
Gotcha.
So he handles the finance part of the business.
Gotcha.
And I handle the construction part.
So you're intimately involved in this real estate transaction space, from family to from up the chain to down the chain. You're connecting on this on many levels.
On many levels. Right. I've seen the real estate sale in. We've flipped homes.
Yep.
We've done buying wholes. So that's the space that I'm in now.
Yep.
So I'm matriculating as I'm getting older.
Yeah. Right. So this is not your first 5 years in.
No, this is not my first 5 years.
This is not the first 15 years in.
No, it's not.
You've been at this for a while.
I've been at it for a while.
Right.
And ironically enough, my grandson, who just graduated high school, yes, I did say grandson.
Yeah.
Graduated high school, and he's now handling my social media, and he's doing all the behind scenes for me.
Right. So that's great. So we've got a family man, we've got a generational family.
Yes.
Right. Who is now a family man and is looking out for his grandson and his kids and doing all the right things, and survived in a very difficult environment, which is building. Right. To be a builder and to have endured the 2008 meltdown, the current meltdown, and the cycle of construction, to withstand that over, I don't know, how many years you've been doing this?
25 years.
Yeah, so that's a long, stable, dependable firm that anytime anyone is going to undertake a project that requires an architect, right? And maybe there's a good segue.
Yeah.
A project that requires an architect, stamped plans, you need a stable firm with stable workforce that has been through the ups and the downs, and you're not into this, I'm assuming you're not into this for a quick hit, right? You're into this for a long term. Right. Folks that last this long and you appear to be sane and normal.
Yes. Battle tested.
Battle tested is a rare breed. It's a rare breed. Yeah, it's a rare breed, and it's to be commended.
Yes, it's contracting is not for the faint at heart. You have to be able to deal with a lot of different levels of issues that are constantly part of the construction business. A lot of people get in it and then they phase out very quickly, because there's a lot that you have to bring to the table besides swinging a hammer.
Correct.
I find over the years, a lot of people jump into the general contracting business because they have a skill, and that's fantastic. I applaud anyone out there. If you have a particular trade skill, that's fantastic. But it's another thing to run a business.
Correct.
There's the management part, and then there's the skill part. And I found over the years the most successful construction companies are the ones who have a partnership between the person who knows how to run the business, the day-to-day operations, and the person in the field who knows how to get the job done.
Correct.
It's a marriage. It has to be done as a team.
Right.
Without the team, it's not going to work.
Right. And I believe it's our 5th episode. We had Dan Evans, our fractional CFO, was in, and on his first segment, it's exactly what we were talking about, was just because you're a good trade, whether that's plumber, carpenter, electrician, physician, architect, engineer, you pick the trade, doesn't mean that you know how to run a business. They're two separate skill sets. And everyone has to learn to take the business side of it and meld it with the trade side of it. So,
right.
So you've been battle tested. You're here 25 years long plus long. Family business, family values, our type of guy. So why don't we talk about the homeowner that, let's break categories. Let's break projects up into categories, right? Okay. You've got your non-permitted jobs, right?
Right.
And then you have your permitted jobs. And that is just that distinction alone is where I think a lot of families and maybe some real estate professionals, maybe they don't fully understand when is something permitted versus not permitted. So maybe why don't you draw the line?
That's a great question. And a lot of times, permanent jobs are dictated by the municipality or the township or wherever you are. And some towns, you may not need a permit to put up siding. In some townships, you may.
Correct.
So as a homeowner, it's important for you to take the responsibility to be able to check out what's needed in order for you to do the work on your home. A lot of times it's easy to sit back and say, okay, I'll just leave it to the contractor. Well, when something goes wrong, you can't point at the contractor and say it's his fault. No, you as the homeowner, you have to take responsibility because it's your job.
It's your home.
It's your home,
asset.
Your asset, and you're the person that's going to toe the line in the end.
Right.
So in some cases,
how would they find out?
All they have to do is pick up a phone and make a quick phone call to their township or their municipality who governs the construction in your area, and they'll tell you, yes, you need a permit for a roof, or they may not need a permit for a roof. Okay, so that's going to divide what's a permit required and what's not required.
Because your procedure, right, with engaging with architects and builders are different based upon if there's a permit or not a permit.
Absolutely.
So if it's a non-permitted job, and let's just make some generalities here.
Okay.
Envelope, right? Windows, siding, window replacement, not enlarging, but direct replacement, maybe a roof, maybe a siding, general repairs, don't require I'm not saying don't, but again, back to your point.
In most
cases, if we had to use the 4-inch brush, typically don't require. How would they engage in that from out of the gates? I need a siding job. Out of the gates.
Okay.
They don't need to call an architect, do they?
No, they don't need to call an architect. What they need to do is come up with a list of contractors, okay? Whether they get them through social media, whether they get them through a referral, and come up with a list of contractors and vet them.
Right.
All right? And, sometimes what's on on social media, even if you see it on Yelp, you see it on Google, that doesn't really tell you the story.
Right.
What you may want to do is, if you see if a contractor comes in your home and says, well, I'm going to give you a price on a job, if he says he's doing a job in your area or in close proximity,
correct.
Get in your car.
Always.
Okay? Don't take his word. Just get in your car and go by the job.
Correct.
See how he's doing the job.
Correct.
This way you have eyes on the job that he said he's doing.
Correct.
And you can see what kind of quality control, how his guys are working, so forth and so on.
Correct.
And in some cases, you might get permission to even talk to the homeowner.
Oh man, that's
a contractor who has full transparency. He has no problem.
That's right.
And that's a win-win for you as the homeowner.
Of course.
So that's very important.
That we tell them the same thing. When you vet, everybody's got a good referral.
Everybody.
Their uncle, their 5th grade math teacher, everybody. No one's going to give a bad referral that job went south, right? And
No.
the jobs go south. They just, and for a variety of reasons, right? But where are you working today?
Right, correct.
Right? Are you working today?
Are you working today?
Right. So that could be right. Now, life is life, but you have to take all that into the process. But where can I go see what you're working on?
Right.
Yeah, let me see something similar. Were you happy? All right, who'd you finish last month? Can I like to go talk to that person?
Exactly.
And if you get the humana, right, from the builder, you know that there might be an issue here.
There might be an issue.
But if they're like, oh God, yeah, please go talk to these people. If they're giddy about it, you know maybe you got somebody.
Maybe you got somebody, and someone's past performance is not indicative of their present performance. So you don't know what's going on in that contractor's life. His wife could have just filed for divorce last week.
100%.
You don't know. He could have had a tragedy of epic proportions, which changes the dynamic. He can be in a very bad headspace.
Correct.
Doesn't make him a bad person.
Just life happens.
You're dealing with life situations,
Sure.
and people are human. We make mistakes, but it's good to try and get through why this person is offering what they're offering to you, and do your own due diligence. That's the best way I can say.
Right.
Your own due diligence to make sure that you as the homeowner, you're safe, because when you give up, when you write that check, what's the reason why I'm going to hand this person my hard-earned money?
Correct.
In this economy,
Sure.
and believe they're going to perform.
Correct. So non-permitted work, it's okay to go direct to the builder, talk to them about the scope of work.
Absolutely.
Do your best to uniform the scope of work. Don't tell builder A, I'm just going to do these 7 windows, and then the next builder comes in and now you're doing 21 windows, and there's a question as to why are the prices different, right? So the scope, apples to apples, best you can.
Right.
But that's an okay position to go talk to a builder for a quote.
A contract to build.
Contractor.
Right. And always make sure you're comparing apples and apples, not apples and oranges, not apples and pears, or apples and watermelons.
Right.
Because a lot of times things
Are subtle.
blur and things begin to sound the same.
Right.
Products sound the same. Oh, he's offering me this window. This guy's offering me this window.
Right.
They sound the same, but
Well, this guy's going to trim with AZAC.
Right.
And this guy's going to trim with paintable whatever.
Right.
Right.
This guy's trained with vinyl aluminum. This guy's with AZAC.
Right.
What's the difference? It's night and day in the
not
price.
in price.
Okay,
Right.
and price-wise,
Correct.
this guy's giving me a Fibrix window. Is this guy giving me a full vinyl window?
Right.
Okay. Night and day with pricing.
Right. So that's a little bit of a tough thing for a homeowner maybe to fully understand, but that general concept, right, of interview current, non-permitted, it's okay to go to the builder.
Absolutely.
And probably the third take-home point would be to compare apples to apples.
Yes.
If we could say those 3
components,
right, is 3 components would be non-permitted, it's okay to go to the builder for pricing.
Yes.
Interview and vet at the transactional time frame, right? Who are you working with now? Who did you just work for? Go to the job site, look. And then third is compare apples to apples.
Right.
Fair.
Oh, one other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure they're licensed.
Oh, yeah, right.
And check out their insurance.
Correct.
Don't let anyone on your job unless they have a license and then you have proper insurance.
We had a and this is okay, so I'm in the industry. I know the questions to ask.
Right.
And I had this young guy come up, I need a new driveway. I desperately need a new driveway. Guy comes up, sees it, right? He's in the neighborhood working. Not, sir, I will give you a great price today, and he gives me a ridiculous number. I mean, like, how could you be doing this? I said, all right, come, I'll listen to your pitch. And I said, I need a copy of your insurance and workers' comp and all that. And I said, how many men are your crew? Oh, well, we'll be here with 6 guys. And I said, well, your insurance covers all 6, yes? No clear answer. I'll get back to you. I'll talk to my uncle. We never heard from him again. Because if you can't produce, and he was giving me some kind of story, not all the guys are covered.
No, they're not.
They're not. And you pay for that. The homeowner doesn't realize. That guy gets hurt, he's coming after me.
Your homeowner's policy is going to cover it.
Correct. So these are the little nuances that we want to be able to help homeowners with today. So, okay, so we've got our non-permitted jobs covered. Let's talk about the permitted job. generally speaking, it's going to require a major capital investment, generally speaking.
Correct.
Usually there's new footprint to the house, increased living space, conversion of maybe a garage, or doing a basement legally, doing things to code, right? Things that are going to be, 6 figures and north, usually is when clients are coming to us or should be coming to us. So why don't you maybe talk to that process of what should a permitted job look like?
Okay, a permanent job. That's the $1 million question.
What's required to secure a permit?
What's required to secure a permit? Number one is plans. An architect set of plans.
Right.
That's where you come in play. There's no sense for you as a homeowner to contact a contractor, general contractor, a builder, to give you a price on a project that's going to require permitting unless you have a set of plans that has a distinct scope of work laid out, because we cannot guess
Correct.
what this job is going to cost.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct. So we depart from the non-permanent work to the permanent work. Now things have changed because now it's the scope of work.
Scope of work.
The scope of work at the enterprise level, right? At the stadium level type projects where this is normal, right? It's always a design professional first, not always, but the scope is done and the builders bid the scope.
Exactly.
Right. So if a homeowner calls the builder and says, I want to put, they're waving their hands in the air and they're talking about their wish list, and they say, I want to put an addition over the garage, and I want to, build this, addition into the side of the hill, and we're going to do this and we'll do that. But they're doing this. Should the first call be to you?
No, the first call should be to you.
Correct.
Because the scope is so important. I just want to say, it's not like buying a car. All right. Cars you get price condition for a car. Everyone kind of like knows what an SUV costs.
Right.
You see it advertised in the paper, and so forth and so on. But if you notice high ticket items, I like what you said. Okay, when you get into high ticket items, you never see Rolls Royce advertised. Okay, any luxury car, you never see it advertised on TV.
Very rare. Yeah, sure.
Because the person that's going to buy it is going to come in with a certain mindset that I can afford this, but I can also know that it's not the norm. What you're asking to do to your home is not the norm. You may do a renovation of this magnitude once in your lifetime.
Right. We're talking
that's it.
$350 to $750 or $800 or $1 million renovation, and that's a lot of cash.
It's a lot of money to put out, and you're not going to do this.
There's a lot of risk.
Huge risk. So there's so much work that has to be done as far as the scope of work, what your plan and intent is to actually get this project done. And there's so many things from the design standpoint, as you mentioned, Frank, the type of layout, there's septic system issues that go on. There's power line issues, utility issues.
Oh, the septic issues. It goes on and on and on.
There's landscaping issues. There's a lot of things that go on.
And it's
variances.
Correct.
Okay, which can set your project back. So you got to be prepared for all of that.
Right.
So, as you said, your scope of work is the first priority that has to be done.
So when they know they want to do something, right? The homeowner knows they want to do something that's going to be sizable. The first step is to retain the architect.
Retain the architect.
Now here's the chicken egg question that always comes up. Yeah, but I want to know, how much does this cost? Right?
Exactly.
Everybody wants to know, well, what does this cost? And I can appreciate it because we're into some custom work. So they come to you, Mr. Builder, and well, what is this going to cost? But they don't even know what this is.
They don't know what that is yet.
And so now they're going to start, and these are kind of famous last words. I'm not going to hold you to it, but
I had $1 for every time someone said
I'm not going to hold it to you, but the reality of it is, the minute that dollar gets inserted, for whatever reason, that number becomes
the number.
The number
Becomes the number.
Oh, you said. Yeah, but we don't have drawings, and there's no recovering from it.
No.
Very difficult. Very difficult.
So I tell clients, I don't give them a number until you have a good set of plans that is, don't have to be completed.
Yeah.
So I can scope out the project.
General
Because it's
numbers.
not fair to myself or to the homeowner that wants to get this project done without a guideline in the scope saying, what are we doing here?
You have to be in the ballpark. Are we playing in the right, are we swimming in the right pool? Or are we not, right?
Correct.
So in our process, when a client comes to us, we'll LiDAR scan the house, right? We do the 360 thing, the tour that, you know, we make this available to builders, and then I'll take my clients through the design process from data collection to model what's there. You know, we give them their client portal, we'll put together a 360 tour. I can visit the property whenever I want to from my office, and now I'm back and forth with the client, and where do you like this, do you like that? I mean, I'm spending the time with them, and they're compensating us for our time, right? Now I get to, do you like this, do you like that? Now we're into schematic design, and we get it to a point where we can have elevations and some floor plans with some general dimensions.
General dimensions.
So that now we get to a point where we typically tell our clients, pause. Let's just pause for a second. Now let's go interview builders and let's get a test bid.
Right.
And that test bid isn't on the back of a cocktail napkin.
No.
But it's not a 17-page spreadsheet.
No.
Either, right? It's not detailed. It's, we're going to get you in the ball, plus or minus 40 grand. You've been doing it long enough. You kind of, that's an 80,000 spread, right?
Right.
Right? Is this a 3 to 400,000? You know, is it 350 plus or minus 25? You know, are we kind of in that range, or or are we more, you know, 500
500,000,
right? Or are we kind of in this ballpark? And if 6 guys come back to the homeowner and say, yeah, this is between 675 and 7 1/4, and one guy comes and says it's 5, you got 6 guys that are saying it's in this ballpark, and one guy's way south. It's probably peppered in this space, right?
Probably.
Of that 675 to 7 1/4 number, ish.
Correct.
Ish. Now the homeowner has to say, well, geez, you know, I got one outlier. That's no good. And maybe they got a number that was, you know, 950 to $1.2 million. That's way outside, right? So it's probably here. And now the homeowner has to say, well, is my budget really here? Geez, we thought this was going to be
a $300,000 job.
And we're at 5 and change.
Correct.
Well, that's way off. Or I have to do this and I'm going to go work overtime and put the job off and build up equity, or do whatever you got to do, or find the money, or what. You got to figure that piece out, Mr. Homeowner, right? The dollars and cents. It might come to, Frank, we can't do everything we want. Can we stage this thing? What if we got rid of this addition over the garage? Could that? And that's when you start having the conversation with the builders and say, yeah, you know, we could. It's probably 60 grand we could shave here, and you know, if we don't do this, 3-season room over here, we could probably save another 35. And do you have to do this bathroom? I know you'd like to do it, but could we come back because you're going to save 20 here? And boom, there's 100 grand, and maybe now, right?
It's more feasible to be able to complete the project.
Right.
And what you're saying, what's important to the homeowner when you submit, you send out these bids to these builders to get a idea of the scope. The devil's in the details. The finished product is where you really overextend your budget.
Oh, finishes.
The finishes.
Right.
Because, you know, the lumber, the siding, the windows, the roofing, the concrete work, that's going to remain the same. But you can take a project that costs $50,000 and change the finishes, and that project now is $100,000.
Oh yeah.
So
and not bat an eye.
So you have to be very careful as far as when you get bids back, even though it's in a scope situation, still make sure you're kind of like comparing a little apples and apples.
Right.
And your expectations of what this project's going to be in the end can turn it to something else. Because they're bidding based upon information that they haven't fully received.
Right.
Like for instance, if you to say, oh, we want to change our whole entire heating system. That was never on the original scope of work.
Right. So the scope is paramount.
The scope is paramount,
right.
but most people at this design state,
they may not be there yet.
They're not there yet.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So and we understand that. So we try and make it more of a skeleton type of bid.
Right.
So this is where you're gonna be at least minimum.
Correct.
And
you're starting here.
You're starting here, and
north,
then you're going north of that.
Based upon, but if we talk about, you can set parameters. We're going to use, assume it's a Anderson 400 series window, and we're not talking Pella or Marvin. We're, sort of bell curve. We can kind of get a flavor for what things are going to kind of cost.
Right.
We're not putting, a James Hardy product on the envelope. We're going to use a vinyl siding.
A vinyl siding.
Right. So you kind of get it, but you have dimensions and sides. I got 26 square of vinyl or whatever here. When you kind of get a flavor, but that's at schematics, and that gives the homeowner the ability to interview.
Right.
Right. Same thing. Nothing changes here.
Right.
Right. Where are you now? Are you local? Have you done similar scope of work? Blah blah blah. Right. That same thing holds true.
Exactly.
The homeowner has shown intent that they're serious, because they've retained a professional and they're paying professional rates for the service, right? The builder's not, you're not asking me to frame.
No.
They're not asking you to design, right?
No.
It's two separate skill sets here, right? And now you're into this, take it to schematics. Now you talk to your builders. Now you start getting a flavor. And if the scope has to change, then it goes back to the drawing board.
Exactly.
And I get rid of the 3-season room or the garage addition or the whatever to get it closer to their budget. Now
Correct.
I tweak it, change it. But during that time, maybe they talk to 6 folks. And they're like, you know what? We really like Chris and we really like Tommy. Let's just, Frank, we figure out the scope. We go to full construction drawings.
Right.
And those drawings are significantly different than...
Significantly different.
Because now we have our structure. Where's the steel? Where's the flitch paint going?
Yeah.
Where's the strapping details? Everything is now detailed. It goes from a, 10-page document to a 22-page document.
Exactly.
Right? Now, they come to you now with those drawings. Is that something that you just, in an afternoon, whip off a...
Absolutely not.
What is that? So why don't you just, because this is really a great question.
Okay.
I don't think anybody really understands. For you to take a set of our drawings that's detailed, what goes into preparing a budget?
Preparing a budget.
And presenting your proposal to the homeowner.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to get into that.
I know.
Even with the preliminary scope of work, I test a client to see if they're really invested into this project. And I charge them, even though it's a scope of work.
Right.
Because it's my time. They paid you as an architect for your time.
Yep.
Because it takes a lot of time just to come up with a scope of work price.
So, like, how many hours do you think? If you had to just spitball up.
If you have a computer program, you're still going to spend 3-4 hours.
3-4 hours. So half a man day.
Yeah, half a man day minimum.
Minimum.
Okay.
On preliminaries.
On preliminaries.
Right.
You get into completed plans, it's a different ball game because there's different scopes of work that's in the plans,
right,
which I might have to send out to my framer to get correct pricing.
Right.
My HVAC.
Right.
My electrician.
Right.
My plumber.
Right.
And now I'm sitting back waiting for these numbers to come back to me.
So you have all the trades.
I have all the trades that I have to now deal with.
And what do? Do they just, you've got to give the plans now to all your trades, and they're going to go to their supplier house, and they're going to get numbers, current market numbers. I mean, I remember in COVID,
yes,
we were watching a 2x4 price go from $257 to $12,
$10,
whatever, stupid numbers, right?
It was
incredible.
And
every 2 weeks it was changing.
It was changing.
Right? And a lot of guys got hurt because they didn't put a clause in.
They got crushed.
They got crushed. Because now you've got a bill that came from, I don't know, Florence Lumber, right? That was in past years might be, $25,000 in lumber. Now it's 70.
Right.
Something
Exactly.
stupid.
Exactly.
And that's a $50,000 hit that now, it's not, a lot of guys got hurt. But anyway, so the plans go out to the various vendors, right? It goes to your window guys.
Window guy, and my roofing, siding, So I have various vendors, and I price out the product. Because what I have to do is give the client back now a detailed price as far as what products I'm offering them. And then there's products that they may not have chosen as of yet. Like if you're doing a big remodel and there's a kitchen involved, that's a whole nother scope to itself.
Forget it.
Okay, so in those incidents, I won't price out the cabinet. I'll let them go get the cabinetry, and I just give them the price for the install. Okay.
Correct.
So those are the details.
Nuances.
So I'm spending a lot of time.
So what would you say, like on a $500,000 project in scope? How many hours would it take you just to put together a proposal that you may or may not win? How long does that take?
Oh, you're roughly into. You can be into 8 to 12 hours.
Right. So a day
minimum,
and a half, 2
day
days.
and a half.
2 days.
Right.
16 hours.
Yeah.
Is safe.
Safe.
Right. Just short of 20 hours, right?
So just imagine if I'm doing this twice a week.
Right.
And no one's compensating me for my
so
time.
let's just use round numbers of 20 hours. Let's just say, because you got not just preparing, but now you got to talk to the client, answer questions back and forth. Let's say that the bidding process is 20 hours. And if a homeowner does this to 6 guys, you're talking 120 hours of man hours.
Man hours.
Only one's going to get the job.
Only one's going to get the job.
So interview up front, get a good feel. I'm not saying, you want 2-3 numbers. I get it, right? You gotta live with someone on a $500,000 job has got to be there for 6 months.
Exactly.
Right. So you're going to be with them. It's a good chance your life is upended. You may not be living here in the house, right?
Exactly.
So you want to know that this isn't going to be listen, things happen, but 6 months shouldn't turn into 18 months.
Exactly.
So you're going to be with somebody.
You're married to this project.
Right. Exactly. So it's a 20-hour engagement to get a number.
Exactly.
So you just need to know that, Mr. Homeowner. 20 hours of a man that is going to put in time, effort, energy, experience to know the pitfalls and whatnot to pull it together. So interview stays the same, constant. Where are you working now? Where did you work last month? Similar scope.
Similar scope.
Permanent job, go get it the number after you have plans.
After you have completed plans.
Non-permanent job, you can get a bid on the non-permanent, as long as the scope is the same.
As long as the scope is the same.
In both instances, permitted or non-permitted, the scope has to remain the same.
Identical.
Always chasing after the scope.
Always.
Always. It's the only way that you can do your job effectively and it be fair. To the homeowner.
To the homeowner.
Correct.
And myself.
Correct. So, I thought this might be, I asked you this question, and don't laugh. Why don't we talk about what are good questions for the homeowner to ask during an interview, and what are bad questions to ask? Like 20, 30 years of this, you've probably seen both. What raises concern? What says, wow, this guy's serious? He asked, that's a good question. I like that. Let me talk to that a little bit.
Well, the homeowner, there's nothing like an educated consumer. I love that off the bat. When I can walk into a home and the homeowner has done their homework and they've gone through the time and effort to realize I need to get this project done. I need to know what my materials are and how can I vet the person that's going to come and do the job. Questions such as, if I'm going to supply everything, why can't I just buy this and you just show up and do labor? It's kind of like a red flag, because then they're getting into the process of, they want to know how much money I'm going to make, okay, compared to, am I going to complete the job? Because the problem with that is you want to make sure that whoever comes to your home is going to be responsible for that material. If it has a defect, has a warranty, because if you're the homeowner and you decide I'm going to buy all the material and just have Christopher's company come and install it, something goes wrong with that material.
Right. Who's taking ownership?
Who's taking it down to replace it? I just had an incident just last week. We did a kitchen. The homeowner decided they're going to buy their off the shelf at Home Depot, and they're missing gaskets. They brought the faucet. I had my plumber come, install it. The right side worked correct. The hot and the cold was spurting out. Come to find out, it's something behind the walls which we didn't touch. So the homeowner said, well, are you going to fix that? And I said, well, it's a problem behind the walls. Well, how do we know it's not just the faucet? I said, but you purchased the faucet. Now here we are, a $20,000 project, and at the end, we're talking about a faucet.
Yeah.
That's not working properly.
Right.
Because they brought it themselves.
Right.
They decide to go on the whole job, go cheap and buy cheap, inexpensive faucet.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of issues that
Yeah.
come up with problems. And you as a homeowner, I know you want to save money, but you got to take into account the contractor's there to give you the best job, okay, whatever, and be able to cover the materials and be able to come back. Because when the job is finished, 6 months from now, you want to be able to pick up that phone. Hey, I have an issue.
Right.
Is the guy going to come back, or is he going to give you the taillight warranty? When you don't see the taillight on the car anymore, the warranty is over. He's never coming back because there's not enough money in the job for him to warrant it, for him to come back. So that's a red flag for me.
And if you have long-standing relations, this is what the homeowner has to understand too. If you have long-standing relationship with your suppliers, you've been purchasing, untold dollar amount from Florence or whomever, right? Whatever. There's a relationship with you, and they know you're a repeat customer. When John Q. Public walks off the street and says, "I want X," or they get it from some drop ship from someplace in Missouri, that is one and done.
One and done. They don't care.
Different relationship between you making the purchase at, it's not Blackman, but I don't know, Green Art, let's say.
Green Art,
right? Let's say Green Art, right? And you're in there all the time, and your boys are at the desk all the time, and they know the guys behind the desk, and hey Tony, hey Carlos, and hey, yeah, it's back slapping, yeah, oh, hey, I had a problem, no problem, give me that thing. Homeowner drop ships from Missouri.
Or our favorite, Amazon, they have stuff coming in Amazon,
Yeah.
which is, some items are fine, but then, I talk to my plumber about this all the time. The issues, that faucet, that shower head, that looks great, but it gets installed 6 months down the line, there's a problem with it, you can't get a replacement part. Now you have to pay the plumber to come back and fix something.
Or what happens if the part, again, I hear all the time, I got this off the shelf at Lowe's, and somebody else has been before you bought that box and pulled out the cartridge because they needed it, and they left it, and now there's, it doesn't. Now, who's responsible for, now the production ends, homeowner provided. If you take ownership of it, it's just part of nature of business. But if the client does it, well, it can't be your problem.
Right.
So these are like the little. We're in the weeds a little bit, but so let's talk about maybe some good questions. What do you like to hear on the interview?
Good questions.
What should the homeowner be asking?
They should be asking me, can I go look at your job? Can I go look at a project that you've done recently? Okay? Or do you offer financing? Because we offer financing to a lot of our clients. Anywhere from $5,000 to $400,000. We offer the financing.
Right.
Okay? At a very, very reasonable rate.
Right.
Okay? And so homeowners that know what they really want. Remember, we are courting right now.
Yeah.
We're trying to get down the aisle and make a marriage union of this project. So therefore, it's good to be transparent. When a homeowner is transparent with me, that's a great sign. I love that, dealing with a homeowner like that. And my expectations are always, I'm going to do the best of my ability to get this job done. And I expect that from you as the homeowner to be at your best dealing with me.
Right.
It's a two-way street. It's not, well, all the burdens on the contractor, do a great job. and the homeowner is not cooperative.
Right.
You have to cooperate with me. Make decisions.
Yep.
Be timely on your decisions. If I ask you, you need to have your vanities there 3 weeks before we're touching the bathroom, or the fixtures, or the cabinetry, or the tile, all the items. The more you're proactive, it makes the project go very smooth.
Right.
There's nothing worse for a contractor doing a project and the material's not here.
Oh.
It's hair on fire. I don't have hair. So.
That's why.
That's why I don't have hair.
Yeah, 30 years. Right. So I think we covered a lot of good. I think we covered a lot of. I hope this was helpful to the homeowners or to the folks around it. That nothing just happens, right?
No.
Like just is a 4-letter word. We want T-shirts, black with white writing. Just is a 4-letter word. Nothing just happens. Lots of time and effort and preparation goes into it on permitted jobs before you ever come to the project.
Yes.
Right? I've got a project right now on Fire Island, and there's a land use attorney, and they're merging lots, and there's coastal issues, and we're going through this process. It has to be elevated above the base flood. All of this thinking is happening before it comes to you.
Yes.
You can't look at a job and what does this cost? What's your square foot price? Those are bad questions. So horrible questions.
Horrible questions. But you know what? Listen, the homeowner doesn't know.
Doesn't know, right?
But we're here to let you know.
And that's why we're doing this, right?
That's not a great question.
Because there is a process that
There's
works.
a process.
Is right, and I think we covered, how do you, a little bit on how do you interview, on scope of work, on when do you need the architect and when don't you need the architect, and our relationship, because it goes beyond just getting to a number. Maybe you'll come back sometime and we could talk about during construction and maybe how we interface during construction when you open up the walls and you find balloon framing or something that's beyond the scope, right? Undiscovered deficiencies, unfortunately, is the thing that...
Hey, Frank, we have a problem.
Right. But maybe we could do that as a follow-up.
We can do
sometime.
that.
That'd be good.
Or take it to the field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
take it to the field.
Yeah, out in the field.
Yeah, right.
On one of the job sites.
Yeah. Maybe we can do something on if we find something. How does it handle? How's that handled? Right. So I hope that you gained something here from our time here today. I hope that maybe you, if you're about to undertake a major renovation, that you took some notes and you can come back and it helps you during the process. And so maybe the next time, Chris, we can talk about maybe during construction. And we just appreciate you spending the time here with us today. And Chris, thank you.
Frank, is always a pleasure.
Yeah. Great.
Always.
So from Chris and myself and the folks here at Cool Beans, we wish you good luck, and we'll see you on the next episode.